If we're going to make a difference in urban education, each student has to feel like a winner.
Peer tutoring. Young people teaching other young people. Helping each other. Peer tutoring has been known for centuries. The educator and orator Marcus Quintilian wrote of the benefits of children teaching children in ancient Rome. In the late 1700s, the Englishman Joseph Lancaster introduced a highly developed tutorial system in which the teacher taught older students and they in turn taught younger students. In more recent years, educators have developed new techniques which respond to the needs of our young people. Teachers are well aware that group instruction has its limitations and that students can often feel alienated, left out of the educational mainstream. The influx of immigrant populations in recent years has magnified the problem, especially in cities like Oakland, California, where over 37 different languages are spoken in its public schools. The late Marcus Foster, Oakland's dynamic superintendent of schools in the early 1970s, was convinced that peer tutoring could be an important part of the solution and could also help raise better citizens. He shared these ideas with a local industrialist and like-minded advocate of educational reform, Robert Schwartz.
Mark and I often talked about citizenship and the teaching of good citizenship in the schools. The question was, would peer tutoring develop good citizenship attitudes in the tutors or the tutees or both? After he was assassinated, I continued talking to his successors, and eventually we organized a conference, the first conference in 1980, to study the subject.
That first peer tutoring citizenship conference led to a regular series held over the following years. These popular day-long sessions were presented by the Schwartz Foundation in cooperation with the Oakland Public Schools. They were attended by teachers, parents, principals, students, and community leaders.
This business of creating a renaissance of learning in our society.
There were intensive workshops dealing with subjects like starting a peer tutoring program, building self-esteem, tutoring the ESL student, drug abuse prevention, conflict resolution, and many others. Two of the area's leading advocates of peer tutoring are Oakland school teachers Ben Smith and Stephen Falk. In cooperation with the Oakland Unified School District and with grants from the Schwartz Foundation and the Rotary Club of Oakland, they have written a peer tutoring manual especially for teachers, principals, and parents. This thoroughgoing manual gives educators the necessary tools for starting up a peer tutoring program, implementing its goals, selecting tutors and tutees, conducting training sessions, everything from the beginning through feedback sessions and evaluation.
It's charming how peer tutoring works for tutors and tutees, you know, on the issues of attitudes and self-esteem. As adults, we try to explain addition or subtraction or adverbs or whatever it is, and we have our own mental set on what it means and what we want the kids to do and what we want them to know, and we can give them a tutor, a peer, be at the same age, a little older, and they have a communication that we just can't replicate.
That's right.
And that's one of the other special advantages of peer tutoring, is that whole language of the child, language of the student, language of whatever's current, you know, outside on the playground or on the street. Tutors use that common language, that common experience to explain borrowing and carrying in a way that we just don't think of.
It's really capitalizing on the child's world.
Exactly, the child's world.
I was well impressed by the caring that students showed for one another. They would go out of their way to help one another, get out of problems that were difficult, and to care for them.
I think it works better to be soft and just kind of say, come on, we have to work now, instead of saying, what's the question? You can say, well, if we get this done, we can go read, or we can draw a picture, or something like that.
So much of our population in the school is bilingual, and freshly bilingual, just moving into the country, that the older students who have been here for several years are able to relate better to the students.
We're bilingual. We could speak English and math. We could speak English, and I speak Mian also. And most of the students here are Mian, and I could help them. I communicate to them if they don't understand the English, and then I translate it to Mian. And then, we kind of communicate that way. So I think it's helping them with their reading and speaking.
Andrew, when you're a tutor, how do you need to act?
I had to act responsible for the first grade buddy.
And what do you do when you're acting responsible?
I have to be responsible for what he does, how he speaks and how he writes. Sometimes it's just harder to work with first graders than I thought it would be, because it's not like they're really little. They have a mind of their own. And if you want them to do something, they just might do something else. They're pretty independent.
They'd rather go off and play, so you have to stay and be patient, and you have to think of things which will help them.
What's special about peer tutoring in my mind is the whole issue of a one-to-one strategy where the students is each respected for their point of view, that there's somebody that cares about you in the moment, somebody to support your issues, to share with you, to be with you.
Well, I live around this neighborhood, and I see a lot of kids, gambling and stuff, nothing to do, sitting home watching TV. So, my mom got me into this program because I said I wanted to, help the kids out. And this helps the kids out by them coming here, they can do their homework here.
By being a tutor, I get to improve my own reading and to improve my work habits. I used to be shy and didn't talk a lot with adults, and the program has helped me. I talk to a lot of parents that comes ask me questions about the students, and I speak out more now than I used to before, and I'm not as shy as I used to be.
I look at it this way, because later on in life, I'm going to have children myself, hopefully. And then, by learning from what I can from here, I think later on I can probably, relate to my children better.
Maybe if I want to go in teaching, say, when I start my college, or I might just decide that I just want to teach. And if I want to teach, I already had experience with kids, and I would know where the kindergartners act a certain way if I want to teach kindergarten. I know it because the Tutoring program starts from K through 6. So I would know, having experience with elementary students if I wanted to go into teaching for elementary.
What's the role of the teacher in peer tutoring?
The role of the teacher in peer tutoring is a very sophisticated role. It's analogous to cooperative learning. It's knowing how to be a facilitator. When tutoring's happening, you have that freedom. Like in a program where I run, where the class is working 15 pairs of kids, that's 30 students altogether. I'm free. I'm not trying to get everybody's attention. I'm floating around the room, aiding and abetting, bringing them to the teaching experience and trying to help them feel good about that experience.
Well, a teacher, they just walk around kind of checking problems, and they don't get to every kid. So, well, I think tutors are special because the kids get more attention when they're there.
I remember when I was 10 years old, and I was a peer tutor in my 4th grade class. And what struck me so much was the whole issue when I helped another child. I felt like I was really having a lot of care and a lot of support, and I was really committed to really making sure that my tutee got it, that they really learned and they really understood. It was at that time that I really wanted to be a teacher. I really wanted to teach. I wanted to help people read and learn. And I think today that I'm so active in the community, with community service, with responsibility and commitment, comes from the time that I was 10 years old being a peer tutor. So it really works.